Yep.
All righty, let's call this meeting to order. It's what, 9:01, so we're doing pretty good. All right. Do we have a motion to acknowledge the minutes?
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Morning, Dwayne.
Good morning, Ms. D. Supervisors. And I'm throwing a wrench into my week, moving this back to Tuesday from Monday. I'll manage to adjust.
You were not the only one. People yesterday were a little surprised too.
I put our pay scales and then also what the employees are making on your desk. I was driving down the road the other day and I heard a trucking company in Waterloo advertising $100,000 for anybody with a Class A CDL that wanted to do local delivery driving. Was $15,000 signing bonus. And that got me thinking that at some point, people may or may not start thinking about poaching our employees. I don't have anything that I really wanted to do with our base steps at this time. But what we do have is we pay our Class B CDL operators the same as our Class A. And
What's the difference in what they do?
Class B is just a straight truck.
Oh, okay.
But the way the law is now, if you have a 1-ton truck and a 7,000-pound skid loader behind it, you need a Class A CDL to move that.
Really?
Yeah. So we are going to transition towards requiring Class A CDL for all our employees, just so they are a little more useful. Legally useful. I would suspect. Right. I would suspect that there are times that somebody with a Class B pulls a trailer that he's not supposed to. But I would like to avoid that going down the road. And on the employee wage scale, they get at 5 years a dime.
Right.
A dime bump, and then for every 5 years after that, it's another nickel. The CDL wage difference or cost difference is like $60 a year, so it's not a large expense to have that. But it to me, it's worth something. As well as we have a couple of our field guys that want to take certification classes for DOT inspecting. And to me, that would be something that has value to the department.
Sure.
So I would like to look at an extra dime for those guys for their first class, and then maybe another nickel for everyone that they take on top of that. That wouldn't apply to Thomas because that is kind of contingent on his job's contingent on that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for the guys who want to step up and take part of that responsibility to do that, I think it has value to the department. So that's why you have those papers. Again, it's nothing we need to do anything on right now, but I wanted you guys to think about it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I get calls from people that you take employees from saying the county pays too much.
Well, I came from.
I know one department that believes that.
I came from a place that didn't pay enough, and they were always running around 3 or 5 people short, and we can't afford to be short.
No, I know, but it's
so.
Mm-hmm.
What I've learned is the county's a little bit different from the private sector, but yet because people work there, their hours are good, the benefits are good. It's like everything else, you balance it. So it's a good thing you're looking at it because it does make sense if people are going to get extra certification, they're going to add value to the department. So that's terrific.
Man, what else do we have? We have Iowa Bridge and Culvert working on the bent pile repairs on the Teak Avenue Bridge, which I didn't notify the adjacent landowners before they set up traffic control.
It's okay, Dwayne, Joe called me.
Okay, so Susie handled that. Oh, I guess I've got to get her coffee and a donut next time I see her at Lodewise. Got our check plans from French Reniker on the 32nd Street project. I'm gonna meet with Matt tomorrow so we can get those finalized and get those put in. Matt and Al, Steve from French Reniker are here. We talked with them just briefly about the pipeline project, and they are interested in providing the inspection service. And so I asked them to come just so they could let you guys know that they could have interest in it. And since they're our local engineer, my recommendation would be to use them. For what it's worth.
And it's more pass through for us.
Yeah, it's just basically paperwork. Road crews we're renting the road hog from Washington County to pulverize some of the chip seal roads that are falling apart. Butternut and 1/10 up by Pekin. We're gonna, and then also Larch north of the city limits up to 185th and Velvet Leaf. So we'll use that road hog. It's a big grinder.
Yeah,
basically.
Larch is the extension of B Street.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that way people know where it's at.
Yeah, so we'll grind up the existing material there. Some of it's chip seal, some of it's kind of a rock chip seal blend to try and get it more uniform, and then bring some fresh rock in and compact it so we've got a decent road bed for the winter time instead of the rough, rutted and falling apart that we have. And I think that's all I've got, folks. Oh, and I also gave you we've got our budget update from the October expenses. And then I also, with the help of Mark and the auditor's department, figured out how to get the report that shows how much cash we actually have in the road fund. So I included that as well. And we're going through, starting to work on next year's budget and updating the fiscal year plan.
So Steve asked me this on Spotlight, so that's why I'm asking you, and I know nobody knows the answer yet, but we were talking about infrastructure and the bill that was just signed. I'm gonna make a wild assumption. Most of that typically goes through the state and then it comes to the county for infrastructure, especially the roads.
Yeah.
So will that go the usual DOT routes, or do you
That
know?
is supposed to, I believe, go the normal.
That's what I
road use
figured,
funding
'cause
formula.
usually things go through DOT and then go to counties.
And it's based on population and a formula of population and road miles, I believe. I'm not completely sure what we're gonna end up with, but it's gonna be more than we have now. But the lion's share of it's going to go to the DOT in the more populous counties. So we're not gonna get as much as we'd like, but
Any idea on the ballpark? And that's probably better not to ballpark that one.
I'm sure I will get that update from the County Engineer Service Bureau as soon as they have it figured out.
Okay.
And I'll let you guys know as soon as I know. But
Good.
Anything's better than
Something's
nothing.
better than
Right.
nothing.
Lord knows we got places to use it.
Yep.
Or did you want to?
Sure.
I don't know how much you guys wanted to see or hear about pipelines.
I was here, yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I know I was here when the last one went through and you provided the inspection service through Frontier, so.
So we did do the county pipeline inspection in 2016, Dakota Access. We were working at that time for Jefferson County and Van Buren County.
Thank
you. And the bulk of that construction was in 2016. Then after that, we did some more of the same inspection for Louisa and Muscatine counties on the Reliant gas pipeline. And it really, it sounds funny, it's called the county inspection, it has nothing to do with the pipe. So there's other inspectors that inspect for the integrity of the pipe and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay.
So all of our inspection, county inspection, is associated with, in real general terms, protecting Iowa's agricultural resources. So the state of Iowa Utility Board recognizes that Iowa has some very good agricultural land and they want to keep it that way. They also recognize that a lot of it's been improved with tile and terraces and other erosion control measures. They want to make sure that stuff all gets put back properly. So that's the purpose of the inspection. They do have, when we did Dakota Access Pipeline, they had an inspector's manual that was dated 2003 that we followed. They just redid that manual and the new one is dated September of 21. So just 2 months ago, they finalized a new one. And I do believe that that was updated from stuff they learned on Dakota Access when Dakota Access went all the way across the state several years ago. There is actually more pipeline in Iowa than most people recognize.
Oh, yeah.
I believe Iowa DOT has a map because it's transportation related of all the pipelines in Iowa, and literally it looks like a spaghetti ball. I'd venture to say there's almost as many miles of pipeline as there is roads. And there's a lot of product that's moved through it. It's a lot safer than transportation by rail. So anyway, none of this is really new stuff. I mean, I live just on the north edge of Van Buren County, south edge of Jefferson County, and there's now 3 pipelines within 1.5 miles of my house, going different directions. A&R pipeline, Williams pipeline, and the Dakota Access pipeline are all within about 1.5 miles of my place. So, I mean, they're everywhere.
Yeah, we've got some that go through and they put them in when I was a kid and they've since buried everything and they do a real good job. They come and trim the brush back and every year.
So anyway, that being said, that's what it's all about. We do have a little more experience, like I said, than just the Dakota Access Pipeline with the Reliant ones that we did shortly after that. And we're available to assist you again and would be honored to help Jefferson County through this pipeline. It is still a ways away. The most recent information I got, which is about 2 days ago, is their planned construction is to start in spring of 24, and they plan to be up and running in the fall of 25. So from my experience of Dakota Access, that means the bulk of the construction will happen in 24.
Do you know when we need to get the inspection agreement in place?
I don't know. I saw the letters that was sent out to the boards of supervisors. They indicated that I guess, I don't know if it's, I don't want to quote it because I don't remember off the top of my head, but something like you should have an engineer on board. I think one of their thoughts with that is that the engineer that's going to do, or the county inspector that's going to do the inspection, attend the public meeting that's coming right up here.
Okay. That's December 9th, I believe.
Yes, for yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Well, maybe we can get that on the agenda then.
I think Van Buren is that same day at noon, and yours is the same day.
I don't know what time it is.
6 out of the Walton Club.
Yeah, this is notification.
So we will likely be going to those meetings anyway. Today or down the road.
Yeah, we'll have to put that on our agenda to do officially, but it's good to.
And
it's
again,
part of the engineering.
this is just pass-through type money. The county doesn't actually hire, well, we agree to have them do it, but the money comes to the county, then we pay the contractor. And it's not money that the county is outlaying on their own for the engineering services that are gonna be performed by French Renner. So,
Yeah, we just
that-
shuffle a bit.
yeah, it doesn't figure into our budget at all.
Right,
So that's one thing we need to make clear right up front.
right.
So I do have an engineering agreement. Since we know so little about it yet, this is virtually the same agreement that we use on Dakota Access.
Mhm.
The only thing I don't recall, well, I adjusted the scope of service just a little bit to account for changes in that new manual I told you about.
Mhm.
Oh,
So
okay.
that our services match the requirements. And I don't remember how we did the payment section before. This one, again, from our experience, we are fairly comfortable relying on the pipeline paying the bill. So the way this is set up is we submit our monthly bills to you, to the county. The county in turn requests reimbursement from the pipeline. Pipeline pays you, and then you have 30 days to write a new check to us.
Right.
That would be handled for the
So, and
others.
that's on purpose so that you don't have to do any interim financing for any of this or anything like that. So,
Well, maybe we can get this on. Can you send me an electronic copy and I'll have our county attorney look at it?
yes, I can forward.
Because they like electric things. I mean, you can leave an extra. No, they do elect. They're paperless. They like electronic.
So those are marked copies. These are the two originals.
Yeah.
And I'll leave these with you. If we need to, I can create some new originals.
I'll get this to them anyway, but,
Okay.
and then we can get this on for either next week or the next week and
Mhm.
get it taken care of.
Yep.
Anybody have any questions?
Questions for them?
Nope, I think mine was answered.
And I should have said this when I handed those books out. Can I have this back?
No.
The reason is
Sure.
there is private property information in those, and I'd rather not
That's fine.
make it public. I just want to show you some examples of
Mhm.
what we do.
All right.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, so let's see.
You guys done with me then?
I believe so. Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you, folks. I'll see you next week.
Go crack the whip.
No whipping needed.
There you go.
Just- Discuss and consider resolution creating American Rescue Act Fund, and this is a paperwork thing. Thanks to Darren's application for the funds. After months and months and weeks of challenge, the funds finally came, and it's $1,776,794.50, which is half of it. And then the other half comes next year, I believe. or
After
next year.
October 1st.
Yeah,
After the federal
So,
fiscal.
it reads, whereas March 11th, 2021, the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 was signed into law, allocating dollars for state and local fiscal recovery. And whereas Jefferson County anticipates receiving $1,776,794.50 to be used only on allowable expenditures as determined by the U.S. Treasury. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of Jefferson County hereby authorizes a setup of a dedicated sub-fund of the general fund for purposes of isolating these funds from the rest of the general fund. Passed and adopted on the 15th day of November 2021, and I see it is November 16th, so I'll make that change. We have a motion.
I would make a motion that we approve this resolution
With the change.
with the change
the
of
change.
date from the 15th day to the 16th day of November.
Okay, I'll second it. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. I don't know if you need a second copy of that or not. But there you go.
Goodness. Discuss and consider abatement of taxes. Steve Wormy, step on down. Yeah, okay. You don't have it. Well, sometimes you have information.
Okay.
I think what it is for what I believe it's for is for, it's largely along the Skunk River, that because that river moves, creates parcels.
Oh, we
Is that not
talked
what it's
about that.
for?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Park, so that's.
Petra Park, that's a different thing.
Oh, this one, we talked about that.
Yeah,
one.
so
Okay.
John Morrissey represented that the last time.
Yeah,
There was taxes abated for certain
A period
years,
of
but
time.
then there was years that still.
Yeah, it's marking it.
I think we remember we missed one year.
Okay, thank you.
Because of 2021.
Yeah.
okay, so this is just correcting what we talked about last time. Okay.
Right, this is an extension of the tax years that were ahead that weren't forgiven.
Okay.
Talk to Mark and ask.
That's
him
fine.
for more.
Well, you're doing that.
Okay.
Well, we can move on to something else.
Yep,
Let's,
we can.
let's go to Steve's and then we'll come back to the
Yep.
rest of it. Steve, since you're here, discuss and consider pay increase for assessors. office.
So what that is for, Melissa wanted to put it on the agenda for you guys to okay the payment of it. Sheila Fight is retired. And the guy that we had that she was training has left.
Oh,
And so what I've done is I've moved Hillary Davis up into that position to pay her what he was making, and then I've got an ad out to replace her.
Okay,
okay.
the guy take one of those trucking jobs up in Waterloo.
You know, surprisingly, he took a job in Davis County at the assessor's office for what I understand to be the same money and $100 a month for family health care.
Interesting. Does he
Okay.
live here?
He lives just, down by Flores.
So it's kind of the drive.
Yeah. So that's what that pertains to.
Okay,
So to make a point, Steve,
hey, come on in.
Anyway,
We'll come back to you.
to make a point, Steve,
Yes,
you, Sheila retired,
correct.
so you hired the gentleman,
Yes,
he left.
correct.
And so you were hiring Hillary for her position, which leave Hillary's position open
Correct.
at less money than what she was paying.
Correct. There'll be no new money spent
Okay.
here or anything like that.
Almost less money.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Should.
Okay.
All right, do we have a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Second,
Okay, we have a motion on a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
all right,
Okay,
let's go back to Mark,
tax abatement.
tax abatement on Petra Park. We're doing the same thing that we did previously, but there was more taxes that were accrued that
You guys
weren't.
did 2 years. They needed to be through.
Okay. So do we need to have a written resolution in order to do that, or do we just authorize it here at this meeting and it's
So
done?
It's done here, and then Shannon gets me the document from Scott.
Okay, so I would make a motion to abate those taxes on the Petra Park, which is now a city of Fairfield Park, which was previously the printing building.
Walker. Yeah,
Tribune printing.
What year are we talking?
This past year.
This
So the
past year,
21st. The 20th.
right?
Okay, so we
Okay.
have a motion, do we have a second?
I second that.
Okay, motion is second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Steve, allow and disallow family farm credits as recommended by assessor. This is an annual topic.
Correct. This is an annual credit. It's a family farm tax credit. This year, nothing odd. We don't have to send any letters or anything. It's just the formality of doing it.
All right. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, make sure I haven't forgotten anything. Discussing consider broadband. Okay. Small.
Well, thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. We're good. Appreciate you coming in.
But I hear you can say it too. Ask Steve.
Oh, yeah. The yeah, brothers.
So, sorry, it's not perfect, Karen, but I did this while I was waiting for a claim.
Okay.
And I want you not to use names, but A, B, C, D. Or
Right.
So we've been, last couple of weeks, we met with. It's my original. Five broadband providers, because we know that there's a lot of money that the state and federal's doing now. I just saw actually in the register this morning where it's, if they're correct, and I know newspapers, you know, you never know, but it only looked like Iowa's going to get $100 million out of this new infrastructure for that. And see, the current one out is for 200 million, and that is what's due on Monday. So that's the reason we met with all these providers, because they get more points if the county provides some matching funds.
Mm-hmm.
And we can do that several different ways. We can use ARP money. We have an opportunity, we could apply, but we won't know by Monday, obviously, if we would apply for that CDBG grant for part of it. We can still do that and backfill if we got that. So I made this little chart, and this is just really the summary of the guidelines, the state. I mean, there's more guidelines. You've all gotten those emails and information. I've sent you everything. Plenty of reading material. I also
Your farm bill packet was over in your chair.
I've also contacted that gentleman we talked with early on that the state consulted with, had a couple in-depth conversations with him about this. So one of the good things that we really have is the opportunity to fiber the whole county where it's not currently, and that's unusual, I'm told. So I think we really need to look at that for the future, because the current criteria, and it's not going to get any less, is 100 and 100 build out. So if any of them aren't that, I would highly doubt they're going to get funded. And with this round of funding that's due on the 22nd, it's different than the last round of state grants, and that this has to meet national guidelines, which the providers have, and there's a few intricacies, and that's why Jefferson County is such a targeted area. You've seen the maps on those, because we have a lot of rural people who do not have broadband, including two of your supervisors. Most of our counties in the targeted area. So the chart that I made gives a number of locations, and if you want to fill in the E, you certainly can. But clearly, fiber is given preference in the guidelines. It doesn't say anything about towers. And we have a couple opportunities. If you want to do any more research on this, we could really decide tomorrow. You know, we need to give a 24-hour notice, or Thursday, but I think we better get it get it done one way or another by then. So I'm pretty open and Darren's gonna fill that in. But I'll just say, my opinion is we'll be silly if we don't fiber the county when they have an opportunity, because we don't know this will ever come up again. And it's also the cheapest per customer option, unless I've totally messed up on my math.
I don't recall Farmers Co-op asking for a match fund in the presentation that was brought to us.
Yeah, they do.
Natel, Lisco, and Farmtel did not. They have Farmtel, who is not on your little grid here, has 109 locations.
I believe
that
Natel
they've-
asked us for a match. Lisco didn't.
Okay,
Co-op
well,
did.
you don't have it on Natel here. You have, sorry,
Well,
B has
that's why I
0.
couldn't find it at the time, so it'd be
And C has-
1350. Yeah. No, that's why if you want, we can take a day or two and fill in the blanks.
Yeah, that might help a little bit.
So we
You know,
can,
because
but
number one, the largest provider that's on this list was in here wanting to get a agreement in principle from us that we were
Well-
going to give at least $1,200,000, if I recall.
it's 2 million,
It's too
but
much.
it's for
2 million.
1,724
Residents.
locations, which is
Okay.
huge, and it's fiber. So
D, I guess my question is, how many locations does D already serve that's including? the
none of
17
these
people?
are fibered. I don't know how many would also have
Mhm.
towers, but
Right.
I
just,
look at this as the old phone lines.
Yeah.
You and I remember ringer
Yeah, I do,
phones.
but I just sit and think, if during doing business with anybody, if last Wednesday or Thursday, whatever it was, Tuesday maybe, somebody says, oh, I need to know this by next Monday, that's rushing it.
Well, and that's the
yeah.
way the state grant has worked. We have no choice in that.
Yeah, and it seems like D not DU,
Right.
D, this item. I'm feeling a little pressure from them. I, of course, would love to do this to the entire county,
Mhm.
you know, but I think. we
What
need
I
to
would
make
really
sure-
like is if we all do our homework individually and call Dave Luneman between now and we meet again, talk to him. And also call any of the providers and ask them more.
Mhm.
And so my other question would be schedules tomorrow or Thursday. So we could decide, and I know it's, and if you want to just say, hey, it's not, I just think we have an opportunity to do something here. And that's why I want you to talk to Dave. I want you to ask him, how many other counties have this opportunity, and listen to him. I'm not going to say it publicly, but because it was a conversation with him.
Maybe 6 weeks ago, I had talked with Jared Parker at Tumblr.
Mhm.
He was quite proud of the fact that Wapello County was now going to be within 400 people of providing access to the whole county.
Yeah, and Davis
I would like to
County,
follow that up and see if that's still true
Mhm.
and where they're leaning. Because I can imagine we're going to sit here and talk about these 5 A through E's, but in the end, the state's going to be the one that decides.
Mhm.
well, yeah, but we can help by saying we'll provide a match, and it's only if they get the grant. So I'm thinking even, if you say, hey, I don't want to decide, but we could say we could go up to a certain amount. The state is not going to grant people duplicate capability.
So are you assuming that the big metro areas aren't going to get the lion's share of this money?
Yeah, if you read the criteria,
And
it's
I
targeted
have.
to rural areas.
I know that's what it says.
And that's why, talking to Dave Luneman, he said Jefferson County is in need. You look at those maps, I mean, our whole, you've seen them, the top
Mhm.
one.
Yeah, I understand that.
So it's not, this is not like road funds. It's not gonna go to, Des Moines already has it. The city of Fairfield already has it. It's not included. This is that's the purpose. That's the purpose of all this.
And it should be.
Yeah, that's why we seriously have an opportunity for our rural
Do
residents.
you live in the county, Charles?
Pardon?
You live in the county, don't you?
Yes.
Do you have broadband at your house? Internet,
Send the telephone DSL.
okay.
Yeah,
You,
so it's-
I live in Van Buren.
That far away.
North, yeah, 3/4 of a mile.
I just was interested.
No, we do not have.
Okay, okay.
We have the old, what was considered high speed 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Which is not high speed today.
well, and see what these grants are doing, they're requiring the speeds for the future, because this is gonna, you've heard this before, equalized to whether it's electricity for the community or any of those things. This is like a big deal. So I just really think if we have an opportunity, we really need to look at it. I did ask, and I forwarded all that to you. Because I said, 2 million is a lot for our county to come up and with one thing. Can we do a, prorated thing? And they came back with like a 4-year option potentially. So we could even take that out farther.
Right, but if
Again,
it comes out of the American Recovery Plan money,
we don't have to spend that till the 2026.
right,
Just commit it.
Has to be obligated prior to that.
Right.
right.
But that would give us flexibility, whether it came there or if we got funds, like if we applied for that other CDBG grant, that's 500,000. So at least it gives us flexibility to see if there's other things we want to do.
Then if they don't get the grant and we promise this, then
We don't
they
have to
don't
pay
get
it.
it. We don't have.
They
to
don't
pay
get it. No, we're not going to pay any money on something we don't have. So. So would you like to meet? We'd have to do at least
Thursday.
10 tomorrow. Thursday, I can do like 10:30 to probably 1-ish.
Yeah, Thursday, 10:30 to 1-ish would be.
Good.
Yeah, that works for me too.
We put out a meeting first, 10:30. Thursday, please. All right. And I'll get you
On
Dave.
that agenda item, just say.
Yeah, just put the same agenda item, discuss and consider broadband. Okay, and I'll get you Dave's number if you want it,
Mhm.
so you can call him. Because I really think this is something important.
And there are a lot of things that are important to do with this ARP money. I just don't want to get us.
Right, and that's why.
And I do know that Company D here is in 18 states, and Iowa was one of the largest. And their plan is to replace all their copper with fiber, but they're doing that anyway. He said that that was going to be the case. So, they're just trying to get more money that they don't have to expend out in order to do it.
I'm sure we could come back with one thing we can look at is that email. I believe the guidelines say 10% match and by the counties, and I think this might be a 20. I have to look at them, but we could come back and negotiate that potentially. Yeah, because I wondered about that, and I asked. I'm not sure if I asked him or not, because I talked with him quite a while on the phone too. Okay.
So
All right.
basically, we're going to check our facts and get back
Yep.
together.
Yep, yep.
Mhm.
Get any questions you have answered. And Dave Uneman is a great resource. Call any of these people and ask them anything or whatever you would like.
Okay.
Right. Committee reports.
I have meant to report.
I was at West Ward meeting, on last Wednesday, and, we discussed, a problem property in the city of Ollie, and are trying to work with the, person that owns or pays the bill for the property. They have been in arrears for 3 or 4 years now. And currently, just to try to stay current, they would have to pay at least $436 a month on top of their $52.48 a month that they average in order to bring that back into compliance within 18 months. It was kind of a tough decision. We had to have that person come in and speak to us about it. There's been a lot of problems there. They had cut off service once. The people that live in the house at that location reconnected it themselves, damaged stuff when they did it, so they had to charge them for the damage when they went back out and disconnected it once again. Then it was damaged even farther, and the person that did it apparently took a lot of time to do it, because they had to drill out a bolt, re-tap the holes, put in screws on both sides so it looked like the bolt was still there, but yet everything was still damaged. And again, this has went on for quite a while. The last resort that we did was to remove more than 15 feet of pipe that leads from the house to the main, in order to keep them from reconnecting the service. And so the people are now having to go over to another person's house in order to get water and use showers and toilets and that kind of stuff. So the board approved that they would allow them to extend it out over 18 months, try to come up with less money per month for paying the arrears, and then still continue to pay the $52.48, which is a regular monthly bill. But we'll go back out, and they'll put in that line and take care of it that way. We got to look at a new pump truck that was purchased from, I believe it was Atlanta, Georgia area. It's a newer pump truck than what we currently had. The current one, when they first purchased it, sounded like a good deal, but then they ended up having to put in almost $50,000 to bring it up to spec on what they needed and everything, and it continued to break down and break down and break down. And so it was proposed by the director that we purchase this new pump truck. Great truck, low mileage. Of course, the mileage doesn't relate to how many hours of service it has on it when it's out sitting in a location and running and pumping the septic tanks. But it will be able to allow, the new truck will be able to allow them to garner at least $50,000 to $60,000 a year for pumping capabilities for different properties, and it will increase the productivity of the department. Not having to turn people away because of not having a truck available to go out and do their septic system for them. Whenever they pump that kind of stuff, they bring the material back over here to Fairfield and dump it at the treatment plant. We have an agreement with them that allows us to do that, and that's all part of the cost of doing business with having Russ come out and do the pumping on the septic tanks. And those are usually done at time of transfer, or if a septic system has been in long enough that it's up for re-inspection, then the system will need to be pumped. Or if you have things like a garbage disposer or other materials that go down your sink, and goes into the septic system, it'll need to be pumped out sooner. The recommendation from them is that you shouldn't use products that put bacteria into your septic system to try to repair it or eat it down or anything like that, because they interact against each other, the natural biomaterial that's in there.
Interesting.
So anything that advertised, just pour this down and flush it and it'll take care of your system, doesn't really hold a lot of merit. So yeah, those were the big items that we talked about at the meeting on last Wednesday.
Interesting. Anything, Susan?
Oh, thinking of it,
I'm
Yeah, I
not
was
naming,
thinking-
I'm not naming brands.
Is that a brand? And the issue in Ollie is in Cape Cod County, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
Yeah, I can, the different communities that are involved with the rest are Argyle, East Pleasant Plain, Kinross, Lynby, Mount Sterling, Pleasant Plain, and Ollie. So those are the
Yeah.
7 major
Okay.
locations.
Any committees?
No, I said it.
I have, yeah, I have to make sure. I had mental health governance board. I was glad to hear on the news the numbers. I called them about 10 days ago and said, you guys need to get a press release out and let everybody know how to contact services.
They sent us a message, I think, about 9-10 days ago.
Yeah,
I got it on the news one day, and then I'm keeping it on the back burner just periodically.
Just keep it,
I'm just
yeah.
gonna keep it.
the simplest thing is for people to just call up to me if they don't want to remember the numbers, but there are services available, and that's important for people to know. That the county contracts through the region to provide services. And so at SEAL, I can only be on for the first half hour because I have the first meeting of that Medical Assistance Advisory Council that I'm on. And so that part was the operational things, but at 2, we met with state legislators via Zoom about some of the challenges of the mental health law that are not addressed, like Fund 10 and how we're going to pay our county employees that work for SEAL. So to try to educate them to fix it in this session, basically. And then the Medical Assistance Advisory Council, since it was my first meeting, it was just interesting. It's all things Medicaid is basically what it is. It's an advisory council to DHS. There's 5 people appointed by the governor. And then there's a lot of healthcare organizations that have people who are there. So there's open comments at the end of that meeting that, there's probably 50 organizations, any healthcare group you can think of is representative. So there's one thing they've started doing, DHS, is having some Zoom town halls or with some of the providers so that they can voice their concerns. Because before this meeting, talked with a couple of providers just to see, and it's still the same kinds of things, slow payment, especially that's hard for small providers because they can't carry that.
Right.
Too long to get authorizations. If somebody has a certain kind of coverage, the tendency is they just deny all the coverage and have to go through the appeal process. And that is such a waste of time and effort. And it's expensive for the providers because they have to hire people to do that. So
Right.
all those kinds of things. So that was the main thing. Okay, public comments. Any public comments? Do we have a public comment?
Yeah, we do, I believe. Mr. McCracken was in and spoke to me yesterday a little bit. Why don't you come up to the table, Charlie, and explain to us what you're facing.
Okay, I don't want a lot of action today. I need information. I've been there.
Did you get my email I sent you yesterday?
No, I haven't read it. We just put it up there. Here you say it now.
Yeah, mine.
There's not too much new life other than, I think maybe your next avenue, maybe Iowa Utility Board.
At the state level.
Yeah.
Okay,
But there is other information in there, and I can talk to you about that.
okay. The code access goes through our property at Libertyville and about 90 Lodge. And of course, with all the inspections and things, it was satisfactory when it was done. This last summer, we had 7-inch rains.
Yeah.
And that settled everything. Before that, the 747 could land on this farm.
Strip, yeah.
Now we've got everything messed up and it settled enough that the power lines probably broke or become disconnected. And I think Dee's the only one here that was around when.
Right.
When
She
it was
was
on.
only on the board.
And Miss Renekers are new and the county engineers new. So it's kind of hard to find out what's going on.
Mhm.
And I'm needing some help where to go and what to do, I guess. Of course, we have the new
Proposed pipeline.
proposed
Mhm.
carbon.
Will that go through your property?
It parallels this one.
Yeah.
How
So,
far apart are they?
We don't know. I haven't heard. But it could be pretty close. Joining you. And so if you think I should be going to the my utilities board.
Other than that number on the sign, and you told me you tried that already, and it's not getting anywhere, that's.
And the code access has changed hands 3 times, so.
Yeah. I
They have
don't know
ways
what's
to
going
do it
on
all.
now.
Oh, my.
And so I'll keep trying, but I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make you a copy of the letter that we received from the Iowa Utilities Board concerning the new pipeline that'll be coming through,
Okay,
and let you have that.
That'll give you a contact,
Well,
okay,
it should. It doesn't look like there's a whole lot of numbers or anything.
but at
on
least
that.
it'll give you some information
Right.
that's specific to the new one, but yet it might provide some help.
yeah. If we don't get help on this, I'm gonna be pretty hard to deal with on the new one.
Well, it's gonna be frustrating.
And well, this is all stuff I haven't even gone through because it appeared to be done correctly when it was done, but they just dumped the dirt in a 20-foot trench and walked away from it.
Well, and 7 inches of rain is not helpful.
Yeah, that's right.
The letter that we received from the Iowa Utilities Board, there is phone numbers along the bottom there and an email address. So
Okay.
that may help you a little bit.
I would send them an email and call them to both.
Okay. Well, I'll do that. That's further I was. And then I'll have to go.
Yeah, I'll talk to you. So.
Okay.
What's your address?
2291 Highway 1,
2291?
2291 Highway 1.
And that's still Fairfield?
Yes.
Let me see if there's anything we can find out too.
Pardon?
See if there's anything we can find out too. That is especially if you're gonna have another one coming through. It's bad enough on one, but
Yeah.
Right, and these are easements that they've contracted to have out there. Says what you can and can't do on top. I mean, you can farm over them and all of this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
but it doesn't really, I don't believe easements state who are to maintain the ground above, as far as earthwork and that kind of thing. Your tile cutoffs may be something that can be addressed with this, because I know when it was inspected, their people, the pipelines people, found all the tile lines and gave little sketches of what was going to happen and how it was going to be protected and those kind of things. And I'm certain that with this new setup, it's going to be very similar to that.
Mhm.
And they're probably wanting to try to use some of the same easement area that was garnered previously through agreement with property owners for the Dakota pipeline. I don't think the two companies are related to one another, not that I know, but it would be a similar situation to what went on the last time with it. So, I'm not sure what the utility board would say, but at least that'll give you a little bit more direction
Okay.
to move.
The rumor is that for some properties, on flat grounds, you can't borrow dirt
No.
from around it. Fill the hole. And they've had to haul in dirt
Right.
and have done it.
Mhm.
But, who's responsible? How you get them started is a big question.
Right, and I don't believe they can pack soil around pipelines. You were talking about that earlier, that they try to mound it up. And then that causes drainage problems initially when it's raised, waiting for it to settle on its own. And then sometimes when it does settle, it'll settle a lot farther than what you would think it would, because you have 15 to 20% expansion on the earth as it comes back out. But when it goes back in, you lose some of that expansion, and then it loses even more after time goes by through natural settling or weather conditions or a myriad of other things that can make dirt settle down and compact itself out. So those are things that you'll need to keep in mind too when you talk to the utilities board. I would believe with your first question.
Sure. Well, this is the next place then.
Yeah.
And here,
Okay.
you have the engineering drawings of where my tile lines are. In relationship to the pipeline.
Yeah, we have kept all those records.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's available to me.
I can get it for you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Oh, you bet, Charlie. Thank you for
Sure.
coming back today. I appreciate that.
Well,
All right.
Okay. Allow claims and approve reports.
So moved.
No, all right, can we talk about it a minute?
Sure. Go ahead.
We have a bill here with 6 charges on it, dating all the way from April 6th of 2020. There are 4 items on this bill, on this invoice, that should have been submitted before July 1st, in my opinion. What, I mean, you noticing that?
I noticed that right away. That isn't part of what's in our packet to approve for payment yet.
I know, but this was here,
Sure.
so I wanted to talk about
No,
it.
I think
Yeah,
that's a good
yeah.
point. I
Um,
would say ask Chauncey what he thinks on
I
that.
would agree with that.
And then before we send it to,
Breckenridge Law, PC.
right. Well, I was
I've
thinking
given it to
Melissa.
Melissa
Oh,
right
okay.
now. She
Okay.
has the original of this bill, and we can hold off on having her create a check.
Why don't you
until
see
we-
what Susie finds out from Chauncey?
I just think that in our personal lives, we wouldn't, if we were a business, we certainly wouldn't wait, a year and a half
would,
to support, before they bill us.
Talk to him and
I
see
will,
what he
I
says.
will.
Mhm.
Good idea, Susie.
Yeah.
Anything else? How about the current ones?
I'm good with the current ones, except for this one.
Okay, so I would make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anything on nuisance?
No,
Okay.
not at this time.
All right, well, motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second that motion.
All right.